call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody here. I'd like to call on Councillor Fehr to bring the opening, please.
Good evening. I love this time of year. Fall colors, fall suppers, both are amazing. And all the other events happening around our community. As I move around the city this fall, I see the colors are starting to change. I don't know if I look forward to winter, but seeing the leaves change color in the fall makes it an absolutely stunning time of year. And I temporarily forget the cold winter months ahead. This weekend, Matilda and I attended the airport open house. There were so many helicopters and other aircraft on display. Luke Penner put on a dazzling display on acrobatics. It's truly amazing, that aircraft, that he's just an extension of him. I spoke with several pilots while we were there and asked them if they would be willing to get in the aircraft with him, and most of them told us that they would have a hard time keeping their food down. And I know I wouldn't be able to. Fall suppers, we've taken in quite a few fall suppers this year. Well, we've met so many wonderful people we don't normally connect with. Anytime I'm provided with these opportunities, I love to take them because it always ends up we have a good visit. And there is another great part of this time of year, and that is my favorite sport. It's hockey. About 1,000 Piston faithfuls enjoy this time of year when our Pistons take to the ice. This Friday, the Pistons are opening their season after such a successful run last winter. And then there is the fall art season. Also this Friday, the Art Center is having their annual cork and canvas event. It's always interesting to see the talent of our local artists. Sometimes I wish I would have had the opportunity to learn some of these talents as I was growing up. But when I grew up, we didn't have all the opportunities that we do now. We are so blessed to have such a wealth of talent in our area. So whether it is hockey, eating, arts, crafts, or music, or maybe something else you enjoy, fall is a great time to connect with other people in our community. We know it's the start of winter, and keeping the folks away from the cold helps to make winter seem a lot shorter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fehr. Council, we do have the agenda in front of us. Can I have someone move the approval of that agenda, please? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Fehr. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. We have the minutes from September 4th of our regular council meeting. You've all had a chance to review that. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Swagster, moved by Councillor Siemens. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. There's no business arising from the minutes. We'll now move to the reports and recommendations from the city manager. This is 8A on page 13. This is in regards to the Municipal Board Order B-18-006. Mr. Workentine.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, this Municipal Board Order relates to Rezoning Bylaw 2097 for properties commonly known as 122 and 124 Brandt Street. This rezoning was dealt with council earlier this year. Due to objections received at second reading, that file proceeded to a municipal board hearing held in August. As is provided in the information package, the municipal board has now issued its order with respect to its public hearing and has approved the application to rezone subject to conditions as provided in the package. I will also point out that an amendment was also issued by the board earlier today that was provided to council members in their mail bins to clarify one of the provisions within the order. But with respect to the file, as the board has ruled that the bylaw may proceed, recommendation is that council also proceed to give bylaw 2097 third reading. The applicable resolution is provided on page 13 of your agenda package.
Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagster.
I'll move third reading.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor Funk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a file that we've obviously looked at before in regards to, on Brandt Street, a particular property rezoning from low density to medium density, and I believe 16 units are planned. This has gone to the municipal board, and as has been noted, the municipal board has approved, so therefore it's appropriate to give third reading.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Nothing further to add.
Further from council? Councillor Fehr.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm just encouraged that the municipal board didn't take a lot of time to sit on this so that this project could go forward possibly this year yet, so. it's good.
Thank you. Anything in closing? Council, just want to echo what the sentiments were by Councillor Fehr, and that we have seen some progress with the municipal board and their expedience in coming up with solutions or resolutions to requests, and so it's good to proceed fairly quickly. All those in favor of third reading? Carried. Thank you. We now will move to 8B, and that's the Variation V-2018-07. This is on page 39. Mr. Workentine.
This also was an application for variance file that was related to zoning bylaw 2097, also for the same properties. And now that council has given the rezoning bylaw third reading, it can now move forward to consider a decision on the variance. The public hearing was held concurrently with the second reading of the prior to second reading of the rezoning bylaw, and with respect to this file, a recommendation from administration is that council proceed with approval.
Thank you. How would council like to proceed? How would council like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra.
I'll move approval of the variation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Funk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that took place in terms of the public hearing at the same time as the rezoning. In this case here, we're talking about a 6-foot variation in regards to the rear yard. As is noted, our official staff recommendation is to approve, and so it's a relatively minor variance, and we do have the official approval from city staff, so I think it makes sense to allow it.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything further from council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We'll now move to the public hearing in regards to Variation V-2018-22. This is in regards to 109, 110 Alderwood Crescent, page 4. I'll close the council meeting, open the public hearing. Mr. Workentine, I'll ask you to introduce this, please.
This file is application for variance V-2018-22 for properties on Alderwood Crescent, 109 and 110. The owner and the applicant of the owner of the property and applicant of the variance is Poplar Estates Ltd. And the purpose of the variance is to allow an east side yard of 5 feet for each of 109 and 110 Alderwood Crescent, whereas a minimum of 8 feet is required in the RLD residential low density zone. The purpose is for the applicant who is proposing to build single-family dwelling on both the subject properties. Notices pursuant to the Planning Act have been issued. There was one piece of correspondence received earlier today on the file, and that has been placed in council's mail bins for information. Generally, with the owner's intent to construct single-family residences and relative to the side yard requested, the 5-foot side yard is consistent with a residential zoning known as RSF, which is residential single family. While 2 family structures are permitted within the RLD zone, which is this particular property, as I mentioned, the applicant's intent is to develop single family homes. With respect to the overall application, recommendation is that council approve the variance, subject to the condition that single family homes only be permitted on the subject properties.
Thank you. We do have the applicant here today. Does the applicant wish to speak? Please take the podium, state your name and address.
I'm Keith Taylor, part owner of Poplar Estates. The whole area is zoned for duplexes, although we chose in most cases to do smaller lots and single-family residences. We could go through the rezoning procedure and downgrade this to single-family zoning instead of duplex, but being as the lot size it is only suitable for a single family. So we just went the variance route and to bring it back to the same side yard as if we would downzone it to single family.
Thank you. Very good. Are there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to object or have any questions on this file? Is there anyone here wishing to object or have any questions on this file? One final, is there anyone here wishing to object or have any questions? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Siemens.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, subject to only single family?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor Swagstra. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we heard from the applicant. Their intent is to put a single-family dwelling on these two corner lots, and they're requesting a 5-foot side yard. Requesting a 5-foot side yard, whereas the minimum requirement under our zoning bylaws is an 8-foot, and they're requesting this so that they can build potentially a larger single-family dwelling. And there is a notification here from administration just to bring awareness again that this is a corner lot, and due to the sidewalk issue we had in the Lyndhurst sidewalk project earlier this year, this might be a contentious issue down the road as well. But so take that under advisement, but I think it is appropriate to move this to 5 feet in this situation.
Thank you. Further seconder, sorry, who was the
seconder?
You were a seconder, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything further? Anything further from council? Councillor Fehr.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question of administration. On a side lot like this, what would the normal side yard requirement be? Would it be 5 feet or would it be 8 feet on a normal single residence?
For property with a RLD, a residential low-density zoning, side yard of 8 feet is required. If the property was an RSF, a residential single-family zone, a side yard of 5 feet would be required.
Even on a corner lot?
Correct.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing?
No.
Call for the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Thank you. We will now move to 8C, and that's the 2019 Capital Works Engineering Proposal. This is on page 52. Council, you've had a chance to review all this already. Mr. Warkentine, I'll get you to give us a brief summary.
Yes, this is a proposal for engineering services for the city's proposed 2019 Capital Works program. And it does involve a number of different projects that are anticipated, which include asphalt overlay, expansion of the Heritage Cemetery, and also reconstruction of a block of Elmdale Street. With respect to the proposed work, the city received proposals with the recommended award being to Sisson Blackburn Consulting, Inc. For the amount of $326,580 with respect to the design, engineering, and contract administration of the proposed projects. Recommendation from administration is to award the contract.
Thank you. Any questions for administration? Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Penner. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we've obviously done on a regular basis where we contract engineering services, and this Size and Blackburn Consulting we have done in the past. And basically this is to oversee some good infrastructure work happening next year. So our asphalt overlay program, in this case along Gulfview Crescent at Eagle Place, some significant water main reconstruction, wastewater sewer reconstruction on Elmdale Street, and an expansion of Heritage Cemetery, in addition to some surfacing, hard surfacing of some of the road there as well. These are good infrastructure projects that we have going ahead. It shows that we continue to put a priority on basic infrastructure, and it's appropriate to contract out the oversight of the engineering to this firm that has done this a number of times before for us.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Nothing further.
Further from council? Anything in closing? Council, there is significant work to be done next year. Obviously, the continuation of improvements along Elmdale Drive, or Elmdale Street, as well as the long-awaited improvements in the Georgetown area when it comes to the streets. And so that's obviously this work is important so that we get better pricing when we go to tender early next year, if this is chosen to proceed. So I think it's good for us to start this out early, and this will save our city dollars in the future year. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have 9A, the accounts payable in the back of the book that you've had a chance to review. Are there any questions? Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Fehr, seconded by Councillor Penner. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? We also have the financial statements ending August 31st, also in the back of the book. Can I have a motion to approve, please? Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Penner. Any discussion?
Nothing further.
Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? We have building permits on page 70 for August. We saw another just shy of $3 million invested in our community. It's good to see. Can I have someone move the motion that is on page 71, please? Councillor Swagstra, second by Councillor Fehr. Any discussion? Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have business licenses on page 72.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Fehr. Any discussion?
Sir.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have the Municipal Board order on page 73. Mr. Workentine, maybe this is somewhat of a larger one. Do you have any comments on this?
Not many in relation to the file. The board ruling is quite extensive. It does cover some of the methodology used to evaluate and come to a final ruling on the assessment appeal that was filed. Ultimately, the board ruled that the subject property should receive a reduction in the assessment pertaining to the appeal, and at the end of the day, it does result in a required tax cancellation that, as a result of the reduced assessment. The proposed resolution for the file is provided on page 80, and it is recommended council approve the tax cancellation related to the board order.
Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed, or do you have any questions?
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Page 80, resolution. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Fehr. Any discussion?
Yes, from time to time, we have businesses or residences appealing their assessments done by the province, and this allows them to be heard and make their case known for their assessment value. And in this case, the municipal board order had decided that the assessment needed to be revised.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Hard to say that we're in favor, but we're accepting, I guess. 9G, we have Bylaw 2107. We have the Windsor Drive and Plan of Works in regards...
Heritage Park.
I'm sorry, I've skipped one. This is page 81. This is the Heritage Parkway, third reading. Page 81. Mr. Workentine, I'll get you to just briefly introduce this.
Yes, Bylaw 2106. It was introduced at a previous council meeting and does present a public drain opening. The sketch was provided after the agenda package was assembled for further clarification, but this is in the area of Heritage Parkway, obviously, next to the Bethesda Primary Healthcare Center, and recommendation is for council to proceed with third reading to the drain opening bylaw.
Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Siemens?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Swagstra. Go ahead, Councillor Siemens.
This is a drain that needs to be opened, as we already heard, and most of it is already there, and it's just to formalize its location.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything further from council? I have a question for administration. Mr. Workentine, this is a fairly wide drain. Is there actually accommodation, if ever, for public walkway along that drain?
My understanding is that there would not be sufficient room.
Okay, thank you. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We now move to Windsor Drive and Plan of Works and the Plan of Works on page 87. Mr. Workentine.
This bylaw, being proposed, Bylaw 2107, is We've got two particular parts to it. There is a sketch that is shown on page 89 that identifies two separate parcels, one being a parcel for a road opening, the other being a smaller parcel for a plan of works. The two parcels can be considered together in this bylaw. Plan of works is similar to a road opening, as it does become a piece of property that is under public administration by the city of Steinbach. There also is a sketch on page 86 that shows the relative location in proximity to Mackenzie Avenue for the particular location. This bylaw is being proposed in conjunction with development in the area that is proceeding, related or otherwise known as the Lexington subdivision, and particularly relates to both phases 3 and 4. Recommendation is that City Council give this bylaw first reading.
Very good. Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Are there any questions of Council first? How would you like to proceed? Councillor Penner.
Move to approve first reading.
First reading. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Swagstra, go ahead.
The Lexington area in general is very beneficial to our city, providing entry-level housing. It's filling up quickly. The first phase has filled up quickly. The second phase is well on its way. And this allows further development there, which is a very good thing for our community.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I agree with Councillor Penner. It is exciting to see this development in this area continue to grow, and so I do look forward to seeing the full subdivision application when it comes in the near future.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing? Call for the question. All those in favor of first reading? Carried. Is there a motion for second reading? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Penner. Any discussion?
Nothing further.
Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. We will now move to 9H. We have bylaw 2102 in regards to Harmony Lane, the public reserve closing. This is on page 90. Mr. Workington.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, with permission, I will generally describe both this file, bylaw 2102, and the next item on the agenda, 2103, as the files are related. This is part of an overall redevelopment proposal being considered by a numbered company, 1000846 Manitoba Inc. A sketch of the area is provided on page 95, which shows the general area around Harmony Lane that is being proposed for redevelopment. A number of moving parts, one of which for bylaw 2102 is a public reserve closing. There is an existing public reserve in the area, but for purposes of this particular application and proposed redevelopment, there is required to be slight changes to the configuration of the public reserve. Secondly, bylaw 2103 is a rezoning application that is also relevant and pertaining to the same area. With respect to these files, recommendation is for council to give first reading to bylaw 2102 and also to bylaw 2103 in order for the public hearings to be scheduled. And if that proceeds, public hearings are intended to be set for October the 16th.
Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Swagstra.
I will move approval.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Penner. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, as has been noted, this is a file where there's a development that's proposed. In order to facilitate that, the public reserve, because the lot lines are basically being realigned and such, so it has to be temporarily closed, and then we will get it back in the future because the required public reserve land dedication from the developer will be maintained. So this is basically, the most efficient way to be able to move ahead with the ultimate plans for this area.
Very good. Thank you. Further discussion? Go ahead.
Just to add to Councillor Swagstra's comments, when areas are developed, there's so many moving parts to them, and so we can approve an initial plan. But as the area develops and evolves, changes are often need to be made, and this is just one of those situations where adjustments need to be made in order to further develop the area.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anything in closing? No. Call for the question. All those in favor of first reading? Carried. Thank you. Can I have a motion for Bylaw 2103 first reading as well, please? Councillor Penner, seconded by Councillor Fehr.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We'll now move to council question period. Any questions of council? I know I have a question of council, and I'll start first, and then I think Councillor Swagstra. When it comes to the municipal road program that we have taken advantage of over the last number of years, when it comes to our own municipal roads, sharing 50-50 cost sharing with the, I'm all choked up here because of it, 50-50 cost sharing with the provincial government, that program has been reduced this year and is scheduled to be eliminated next year. And I think it would be appropriate, I know many municipalities and many communities are either sending resolutions or sending letters to the minister expressing their concern over, first of all, that we appreciated that program immensely, but the concern that it may be eliminated. And I think it would be appropriate for us to send a letter to the minister copying our own MLA as well, just to reiterate that point. Can I have a resolution on that, please? Councillor Fehr, move that, second by Councillor Penner. Any discussion?
I think you said it all.
Thank you. Anything further? Call for Councillor Penner.
Sorry, just wanted to reiterate too that that program has been immensely successful for us as well as other municipalities and cities. So I think this is a very good idea.
Thank you. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Swagstra, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the city manager, and it's just in relation to the intersection at Mackenzie and Brandt Road. I've had a few people that have asked me about it, particularly in light of a news item this morning regarding the new indications as to that when you're going east on Mackenzie, you have to turn left. You cannot continue going straight. And the question I have, if the city manager can just explain sort of the reasoning behind, because the concern that I've heard and that I frankly have experienced myself is that if you want to continue going on Mackenzie and you want to, for example, turn immediately into Parkway Avenue to go to Southwood School, or you want to just keep going on Mackenzie, you have to drive east and then turn right. So you have to go into the right lane, and then you go through the intersection, and as soon as you're through the intersection, you must immediately signal left because there's no room otherwise, and then you have to immediately continue going left. And it's a concern that I've heard people express and that I have myself. And I'm just wondering if the city manager could just explain, was that aspect taken into consideration in regards to the decision there, and what was sort of the process behind that?
Mr. Workentine.
I can speak generally to it, and we can start with that. But generally, the portion of Mackenzie Avenue on the west side of Brandt Street had some significant physical alterations made to it. Generally, it was single lane, both eastbound and westbound on that side of Brandt. With the new configuration, the intersection area was widened, and that permitted separate lanes being designated, certainly going eastbound. Based on the engineering consultants that the city contracted with to design and develop that intersection, that was the recommendation based on their assessment of traffic counts and traffic movements at the intersection. Further, the city's highway access and transportation management plan that the city has used as a guiding document for a number of years had identified that intersection with these particular types of changes when work was to proceed or to upgrade that intersection. So generally, the work that's been done has followed that plan.
Thank you. A supplementary?
Yeah, supplementary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to, and maybe staff can sort of look into it a bit more. Some of these questions, like I'm fine with that. But the question I just have is, was the aspect of the concern that I raised about your driving, you must be in the right lane now, so you have to turn into the right lane, you go straight, and then you have to immediately go into the left lane in order to go on Barkman or in order to just continue going straight. When you consider you've got parked cars along Mackenzie Drive there, was that aspect taken into consideration as a concern at all? Was that factored in, or was it looking purely at sort of the most efficient turning left So, and if the answer is no right now, I'm fine with you finding out, but I would just, I would like to know whether that other aspect was taken into consideration, because especially since it's different than what the configuration had been before, and it does seem unnatural, because I'm there every single day, and it seems odd, let's put it that way.
Fair enough. I would expect that would have been taken into consideration. However, if it's helpful, I can inquire of the city's engineering staff, and perhaps if there's a further update that they're able to provide members of council, we can certainly make sure that happens.
Okay. Thank you. That's appropriate. Councillor Fehr?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think that intersection is actually very, very similar to the one at Big Freight. We run into the same thing. I think it's of super importance there that the lines are painted regularly, because people don't know. And we're confronted, we do the same thing. If I come across from Big Freight, I've got to take the left lane to turn left onto the service road as well. But I don't know, with the heavy truck traffic, I don't know if there's a better way to do it than that. Maybe there just has to be a perceived jog. I don't know. But
Thank you. That was a question, so that's good.
yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none? You're lucky you had a question mark at the end of your
There you
sentence.
go. Exactly. That was planned.
All right. No other council questions? Thank you. Then we'll move to correspondence. 11A, we have the St. Rat River Conservation District minutes from June 19th, as well as July 17th on page 108. You've had a chance to review those as well. Take that as information. We have 11B, we have the correspondence in regards to Sunday shopping from Mr. David Banman on page 115. Mr. Workington, yeah, we've received all that entire petition, is that correct?
We have.
All right, thank you. And can I have a point of clarification from you, Mr. Workington, when it comes to the decision that was made 2 weeks ago, for that to actually be changed by this council, what procedure must follow?
There is specific reference in the Municipal Act that if there is a matter that comes before council where a decision has already been made, council may not reconsider that decision unless a notice is provided by a member of council. And that notice must be provided one meeting prior to the following meeting where the question could be reconsidered.
Thank you. All right. Any further action wished by council? Seeing none, we'll take it as information. And there's no other business. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Fehr. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.